digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Football in January.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Bag of Donuts. And here's your host, Joey Bag of Donuts.
So you called it. You called it. Hello?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We are live. Sorry. Welcome to the Donut Bag Podcast, part of the Sportscast Network. If you want to join in the conversation, just go to youtube.com/Joey Bag of Donuts. I believe you could also respond on Twitter and actually now on Instagram. I believe. Oh, wait, maybe we're not on Instagram yet.
And Facebook, too.
And Facebook, yeah. Go about. Okay, now we're live on Instagram.
Nice.
Whoa, we're just yeah, you called it. You said, I think you said on last week's show, it's like by this time next week we will have a coach.
We do.
And we have a coach. When it first happened, I did not take the news well, and I think all of Steeler Nation did not take the news well. I was in a waiting room of a auto place getting my car fixed, and I got the news on a Saturday afternoon, and I was just raging, but I could not vocalize this because the other people in the waiting room apparently are not sports fans or did not get the information. So I texted you and I started tweeting like crazy, and then I got home and just raged for like half an hour on here. How did you take the news? I think you took it similarly.
I think it was the same thing for me, too. I mean, I think my one response to you is I'm so pissed right now, I can't even think straight. And
Yeah.
I think that I know that I said we may have a coach by now, but I don't think anyone thought they would just pull the trigger on McCarthy so quickly. There's obviously, and because they only did 3 interviews in person up until McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the Steeler Nation was really waiting to see who they were going to get to interview from the excess of these championship games, with some popular picks being from the Rams and whatnot. So I think that really, first of all, caught people off guard. And I think people in their heart of hearts was really thinking that Art Rooney was going to go youth, and they went with someone even older than Mike Tomlin. Now that I've had time to digest and bang my head off a wall several times, I still don't like it. But there's some things that, I saw someone point out, and they're not wrong, is like, he had how many years under Dallas with Jerry Jones? That would just ruin just about anybody, so maybe you got to forgive him for that a little bit. But everything else is similar. The records, the Super Bowl win, the playoff record and everything. And I just feel like a lot of people still feel like we, changed one mediocre Mike for another mediocre Mike, and that fresh breath that they were looking and hoping for, that fresh, youth movement into the organization. A lot of people wanted and saw it. They got robbed with Mike McCarthy. And I think that's why I acted that way, because I think that's really what we wanted. I really thought that's what we all believed would happen too. And when it doesn't, you're just like, well, it's both shock, awe, and then the disappointment sets in.
Exactly. We were all expecting the next Cowher, the next Noel, the next Tomlin, the next young guy that is going to take us into the next 20 years of coaching. And we get this. It was just so out of the norm of what the Steelers do. It just threw us for a loop. And then, like you just said, it's like, so basically we replaced Mike Tomlin with another Mike Tomlin. Somebody said replacing Mike Tomlin with Mike McCarthy is like pooping your pants and changing your shirt or something.
I saw that. A friend shared it with me this morning. Yeah, I got a kick out of that one. Yeah, I guess that's just the thing. It feels like we're almost back at square one. And I think there's a disconnect too between the fans wanting a rebuild or a restructure, and Art Rooney thinking we don't need one.
That has a lot to do with it, and this is why I'm wearing my detective cap, because I want to get to the bottom of why he would make this hire, and I want to get to my first little bit of investigation. So let's review the facts. After the Steelers lost the playoff game, Mike Tomlin quits the next day. He quit when he met with Art Rooney II. Art Rooney II did not expect him to do that. Art Rooney expected him to be there at least another year. This is why I think possibly one reason they got McCarthy. Art Rooney, just like you said, didn't think anything's wrong. And that, to me, is mind-blowing. But he thought, oh, crap, Tomlin's not here. We need to continue this wonderful thing we have going where we make the playoffs every year. Everything is wonderful. Let's keep this going. So let's get a guy as close to Mike Tomlin as possible with the same kind of reputation and resume. And let's just keep this going. And if that's what he thinks, I would say he should jump in the river, but he can't jump in the river right now because it's frozen. So he would just land on top of a bunch of snow and ice. But if that's what Art Rooney thinks, he is getting a lot of crap. And I made one of my tweets was, people realizing that Tomlin was the problem, that thinking Tomlin was a problem when actually Tomlin wasn't the problem, or at least he was part of the problem. It's actually Art Rooney II.
Yeah. And I've been saying that for years now. He's not like Dan. Heck, Art Sr. wasn't like Dan.
Right.
Dan was so in touch and on top of things, and I just don't get it. And it just seems so backwards thinking right now. Now, look, you could say some things like, hey, Chris Shula was in the top of a lot of people's lists, including mine. He's probably one of my top 5. He got buried by the Seattle Seahawks offense yesterday. It did not look good. The Rams defense looked a little lost. And so you could say, well, that was one game. At least Mike McCarthy has an offensive mind, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that was one thing I was in the mood for. Okay, I like Chris Shula, like some of these other guys, but I hoped they would hire the offensive minded. Well, I got that. I just didn't, I got it for somebody that's, going to sit next to me on the couch and watch Columbo and the A-Team and go for Medicare and the AARP commercials. Seeing that are on there, I never realized because, I've been home with the whole cancer thing and watching a lot more TV than I ever used to. And here I am watching shows you and I grew up with, and now they're running the AARP ads. I'm like, oh, God. And, that's what Mike McCarthy's doing. And but I think that's right, Joe. I think, Arthur Smith goes off to Ohio State. Good. Fine. Arrivederci, like you said.
Bye.
Take him to the airport. Bye. That's where he belongs, And I just feel like that was a good step there, but we just didn't fill the right void here. And I wonder what the hell is the staff going to look like, because the other thing, when he was in Dallas, he had 24 coaching staff members.
Really?
He had 24. In Green Bay, he had 21. I mean, I don't know. I can't even start thinking much past, the basics. Defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, special teams, passing game coordinator. Do you have a Gatorade game day quarter? Do you have a weather guy? I mean, I don't.
But this is what a lot of teams do. They have passing game coordinator, running game coordinator, every little coordinator for every little thing. And that's actually, that's been a criticism of the Steelers is your staff is too small.
Right.
So that's going to be really interesting. My guess was the reason why the Steelers staff was so small was because they spent all their money paying Tomlin. Tomlin was making like $17 million a year. There was no other money for anyone else, because that's one thing. one criticism of Art Rooney II, and actually the entire Rooney family, they are cheap.
Yeah.
And somebody compared him to, it's like, you're just Bob Nutting with a better situation. And they've always been cheap. And maybe that's why the staff is so small. I could see the benefit of not having a large staff because there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and you have way too many people. It just gets too confusing and stuff like that. But it's also not good enough. It's also not good to have not enough people. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of staff he has.
Yeah, and it just seemed like I think a lot of people were just a little bamboozled that they brought in, Mike. They brought in, oh man, here we go with the chemo brain. They brought in the defensive coordinator, Flores.
Yeah.
And then they brought in
Weaver?
Yeah, that was it. And I really think that, there was probably a tough decision not to hire one of those two. And I'm glad they didn't. But so now, now we're looking at this point. I mean, we already got our head coach. There's nothing you and I can do about it. There's nothing the fans can do about it. This is our guy. Now you got to kind of hope, well, how are they going to fill the rest of this roster? Because you definitely want Terrell Austin gone. Can they bring in some young defensive coordinators? Can they bring in, Shieldhouse, who I like? I will say this. I liked him. It could have been a big jump from passing game coordinator to head coach. I give the Steelers that. If they bring him in as an offensive coordinator under Mike McCarthy, then maybe my shields will lower a little bit. That I might be comfortable with. I could see maybe some value in that. But I think that's the kind of stuff that's got to get guys like you or me or a lot of Yinzer Nation back on the tracks here, because I still think a lot of us are, how you're saying, Joe, we're bamboozled, we're ticked, not happy. And it's interesting because watching, a lot of, Pat McAfee, some of the shows today, they know that Yinzer Nation's pissed. And when you look at, like, some of the other coaching hires, pardon me, the fan bases are like, okay, that's who we got. Not us. Not Steeler Nation. Steeler Nation was glued to that like you wouldn't believe. And then that was almost more newsworthy than actually getting Mike McCarthy hired, was the amount of Yinzers that were pissed off. And they all addressed it.
The news came out on a Saturday afternoon. When news like that happens, that's news dump time. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, when people aren't talking, that's when you dump unpopular news. So that was very telling. And yes, immediately I put out a poll and I got about 70%. I've seen other polls that were saying 70 to 75% of Steeler fans hate this move. They put out an article. Bob Labriola put out an article on Steelers.com yesterday with an interview with Art Rooney II. I think the reason they did that was to stop to ease our tensions or make us a little bit happy or something like that. But I think they're very aware. One thing Art Rooney said was, we're not really aware of social media. Oh yeah, you are. yeah, you are. This was a very unpopular move, and he has an introductory press conference tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see how many people he wins over. I mean,
what's the story, Joe? Is he from Greenfield, or did he live in Greenfield and then move out, or is he really a Pittsburgh guy, or is he like a transient?
I'm not sure. From what I understand, he's. I heard he was from Penn Hills.
Okay, it could be Penn Hills. I mean, that was very endearing to a lot of people with Cowher, right? I mean, everybody loved that.
Right, right.
So, it's just, and that's the thing that, like, kind of got me is, okay, if here's a hometown guy, and they don't care. They don't care if he's from Greenfield or Crafton or, Penn Hills. It's like they're pissed. They don't care that it was a hometown guy. Cowher, they loved it. This guy, not so much.
Well, that's what really, one of the things that annoyed me was, is that the only reason you hired him is because he's from here? Like, so what are we going to do? Make all Pittsburgh people the coaching staff? Are we going to make Pittsburgh dad the defensive coordinator or something like that? Joe Manganiello, he's make him the offensive coordinator. Michael Keaton, make him the special teams coordinator. Like, is that what we're doing? We're just hiring local people.
XD out can be our linebackers coach.
There you go. Daniel Striper Tiger, sure. He, according to Wikipedia, he's born and raised in Pittsburgh in the blue collar neighborhood of Greenfield. So
there you go. Okay, so he was from there, yeah.
Yeah. So if this makes it harder for me to go to big gyms in the run, then I'll be very unhappy with this.
I know, and I didn't realize you liked that place until I get the clearance to go to those. You and I got to do a lunch there someday. Yeah. That's so good, and I love big gyms.
Oh my god, it is so good. I've never had a bad meal or bad experience there. It is just the most down home, in the, like, it's so Pittsburgh. It's right in it's so like it's just in the neighborhood. It's just everything's good about it. And then like across the street is his dad's bar. I don't know if his dad still owns it, but that's weird.
Yeah.
But another piece of my investigation, and I think another reason why this possibly happened, because we said when we talked about McCarthy, and we're like, yeah, not really going to hire McCarthy, right? They're just doing it because he's the Pittsburgh guy. They're just, just putting his name out there. And I said, well, the other theory was that they don't like anybody else, and he was their fallback option. And now we get a rumor, and this is just a rumor, and especially who it's coming from, you can take it as with a huge grain of salt. It came from Andrew Filipponi. But he said that when they interviewed Shula, he bombed the interview. And they didn't like Shellhouse because he's just too young and not ready. And I could see that. Shellhouse, he's not even an offensive coordinator. He's not even calling the plays. I believe McVay is calling the plays. So it's like, you don't even have a guy. And the other option was Brian Flores. And if the option is Flores or McCarthy, I'll take McCarthy any day of the week because I wanted to stay the hell away from Flores. That guy seems like he pisses off everyone he works with.
Yeah, the whole thing on him was that by the second half of that second season, everybody was so distant from him that they had no communication, even the assistant coaches, front office staff. It was really, really bad. So I'm glad they didn't go with that option. I could see what Filipponi might be saying about Shieldhouse. I do feel like that may be their intent. They may actually bring him back as an OC. They just didn't think he was ready for head coaching. I don't believe almost anything he says. To me, he's about the worst, sports personality in Pittsburgh and most unprofessional I think I've ever seen. But you could bomb an interview, I guess. Look what's going on with the Browns right now. Holy crap. All these coaches left and right saying, I don't want anything to do with the Browns.
They make them fill out essays?
Like a 40-page answer Q&A. They got to do like a personality test. I just,
that's why they're a clown organization. They're all about analytics. Their main analytics guy was from baseball.
Right.
Because baseball and football are very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why the Browns are going to be the Browns, and now it's still the weird part about this whole thing is it's still very interesting. Like, who are they going to hire as OC? Who else is Mike McCarthy going to bring over? And then it kind of comes to the next big thing is, what do we do in a quarterback? Because I don't know if I buy into they just did this to keep Aaron Rodgers here. I feel like they may be. I feel like they might be ready to give Will Howard a shot or bring somebody in. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. Although this hire, I think, greatly heightens the fact that he would be back. Without this hire, I don't think he was coming back.
Yeah, there was I believe Mike DeFabo had I saw a quote from Rodgers that said, if I'm coming back, the only way I come back is for McCarthy. Now, he wasn't talking about now. He said this several years ago or whatever. I think it was before he ended up going to, or while he was with the Jets or something like that. So, he has a great deal of affection for him. and that's one thing that scares me about McCarthy is about, from what I understand, his offensive philosophies are a little bit outdated. But really, if it's Aaron Rodgers coming back, that's basically they're both the offensive coordinator. That's like both they're basically like a dual mind running the offense. So, and I'd be okay with that. I would be okay with that. But one thing that is a little on the good point about this, and this is from Kevin Smith. I don't know who he is, but he said in Dallas, McCarthy hired Kellen Moore and then Brian Schottenheimer as his OCs. Dan Quinn is his defensive coordinator, and now all three are head coaches in the league. Joe Philbin, his OC in Green Bay, was hired as head coach of the Dolphins in 2012. John Fossil, his special teams coordinator, has been hired in the same role as Dennis C. Al Harris, his assistant head coach in Dallas, is a rising defensive coordinator in Calendar. And he goes on and on about all these coaches on his staff that are either still head coaches or still in the league. That is the exact opposite of Mike Tomlin. And one of his biggest problems was Tomlin's coordinators were absolute dog crap. So there is an improvement.
There is an improvement. Yeah, Mike Tomlin's coaching tree is more like a little shriveled bush, and McCarthy does have that. In that's something you kind of got to give him credit for too, which is why I feel like it is interesting to see what's going to happen from here, because it just opens the gate to again coordinators and the quarterback too. Aaron Rodgers didn't have a bad year; he had an okay year. We sure as hell didn't help him out by surrounding him with talent, which makes me wonder: do they go out and get Davante Adams? Because he only led the NFL in touchdowns this year. And if you saw at the end of that game, and he was crying, he's now 0-5 in NFC conference, or it's NFC and AFC. He's 0-5 all time in conference game championships, and he wants to get there. Now you bring Davante Adams back next year. I don't think how any of us can really complain about that, because we complained about the lack of a distant receiver all year. Is he young? No. I don't know. I mean, it leaves the gate open for a lot of things. Do you reunite Adams with Rodgers in Pittsburgh? And it's really going to be interesting to see now what these couple weeks ago. And that kind of goes something that you called last week is like, you would think that when the season's over, our podcast would be kind of not a lot to talk about, but we've always had, in at least the last 3 years, a lot to talk about in the off season, and now we're going to have a lot to talk about again. I mean, each week should bring something new.
Oh yeah.
And this actually opened the gate for something new. I'm very curious to see what they do.
Davante Adams he'll be 33 in the next season, but he is still under contract for one more year. Then again, hey, trade for him then. Davante Adams with Aaron Rodgers is like gold. And that's another thing about a Mike McCarthy offense. He's not relying on tight ends. He is relying on I think he's like exclusively 3 wide receivers. So you better find 2 other wide receivers, buddy, because what we got ain't good enough.
Congratulations, Gainwell, because you hit your peak last year. You're not going to be the leading receiver next year.
That's right. I highly doubt Kenny Gainwell is going to be the MVP next season.
I hate to tell you, you're going to go down to about 20 catches, maybe 30, but you're not going to be what you were this year. And that would be interesting. But then again, I would still want to see the uproar on that because, like you said, he's 33. DK Metcalf is not young.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, not young. Mike McCarthy, not young. So who knows? I mean, you get the band back together and we win a few games and we win a playoff game, and who knows? But I think contrarily what you saw yesterday, other than with the exception of the Rams, Seahawks, very young. Patriots, very young. The Broncos, very young. And you can, like we talked a little bit about this last week, you can hate the Patriots all you want. Patriots went out, got a new coach, got a new quarterback, young quarterback, right? Put together a good team through channels and trades and stuff like that. And here they are back in the Super Bowl, whether you like it or not. Now we don't like it because we don't want them to get 7 before we do. So I don't know about you, but I'll be pulling for the Seahawks in 2 Sundays from now. But there's Sam Darnold finally found his niche. The Vikings are stupid. Here he goes. And I just think that that's what a lot of fans see, Joe, is these younger guys. Although Mike Vrabel's probably 40 or late, I'm assuming 40, 41. I don't know off the top of my head. But, the Patriots and the Broncos are exactly kind of what you want to see the Steelers be. And, we got some guys. Sure, we got T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward, but they're also pushing over 30. So I think that's just the thing is what's going to happen with them? Are one of them going to retire? Are they going to trade T.J. Watt? I think that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Lots of, T.J. Watt might be such a baby because he's like, I only want to play for Mike Tomlin. Like, what the hell have you done, dude? Besides get some sacks. What have you done? Where have we been? It's like we blame Tomlin for all that. He deserves a lot of the blame, but a lot of the blame is on the players too. Almost every single one of those playoff games, TJ Watt was like, we could put him on a milk carton. He was missing. So I want to play with Mike Tomlin. Go! I'm sure Mike Tomlin. I saw Mike Tomlin at a gym. He going watching his daughter with a gymnastics meet.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's extra seats there. Go watch gymnastics with him. If you so who knows? Maybe TJ Watt will demand a trade or something like that. And he could go. By the way, Vrabel just turned 50.
So he's not exactly.
He's relatively young.
He's relatively young. But I just think I like what the Patriots are doing there roster-wise. I don't see Steelers doing the same thing.
But they could.
They could.
Now, they have 12 draft picks in this upcoming draft, including 5 in the top 100. So if you want to make an impact, now we assumed that all those extra draft picks were going to be used to trade for a quarterback. Well, guess what? There is no quarterback. So, but that might be a good thing. We need 1 or 2 wide receivers. We need to get younger everywhere. So
we really do.
This has a chance to like really turn the team around. So, but they got to get it right. They got to get the draft right. And the past couple of drafts seem to have been better, but we'll see.
Well, that's a great comment. We got to get it right because I think I've said that a few times in the last month, and I think you've agreed with me. Is that the Steelers are right now at a point where I think they make or break the next 10 years. This could either set them back or put them forward for a long time to come. And I'm not the only one. I think a lot of Steelers fans feel that way or think that way because, again, the 12 draft picks, I don't think they're going to use all 12. They're going to trade some. We're going to see some bamboozling and some stuff like that. Where they're sitting at the salary cap-wise is very comfortable. They can make some splashes there. They can get rid of some guys. They are at a part right now where they can do a lot, and now people are just kind of wondering, do we have the people in place to make the right decisions that are going to put us to be where the Patriots or the Broncos are? Hey, Broncos, we haven't seen the Patriots in the Super Bowl for 6 years. They've had a couple losing seasons in there. So did the Broncos. If we have to go 6-10 or whatever, 6-11, 6-12 next year, fine. So be it. Have a losing season. Get a decent pick. That's where we got guys like Troy Polamalu and Big Ben and stuff like that. That's where the Patriots got guys like Maye. So I mean, if we have to have a losing season, oh my God, Steelers fans, we have to have a losing season. It's just, and that'll be the thing that'll happen, Joe. We'll have a 6-win season, and the fans are going to go all ape on Mike McCarthy or Mike Tomlin. Never had a losing season. I can hear it now. I can hear it now, but they've got to figure out some kind of new way. And I think the Steeler fans that are having these issues are our generation. They saw Cowher and his staff build this team up, make the right decisions, brought in Jerome Bettis, brought in guys like Larry Foote, made some good draft picks, and formed a really great team that brought home 2 more Lombardi trophies.
Yeah. it's possible to go 5-12, 6-11, or whatever, but it's also possible to go 11-6 and 12-5 and get those those stars.
Mhm.
But we've been stuck in the middle for the past 10-15 years, and look what it got us.
Right.
So yeah, okay, we could lose. Oh well. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. That's one thing. McCarthy is praised for how he handles quarterbacks, but who did he have? Okay, yeah, Aaron Rodgers. He did have Aaron Rodgers when he was starting out. Okay, so you could give him credit for that. But he also had Brett Favre. Brett Favre was like toward the end of his career, and then he had Dak Prescott. He didn't do anything with Dak. Dak was already good. So
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what do you do? The biggest question is, and I think that's the whole reason he was hired is, what are you gonna do about quarterback? It is our biggest problem. So is it? I saw something in that Steelers article that was like, well, he really loves Will Howard. How would you know?
I saw that. Yeah, no, that was a great comment you put on Twitter. Like, how would you know? We don't even know.
We don't know.
Joe and I got to see him more than you did.
Right.
And then like a week later, of course, he gets run over by a dump truck or whatever. But I mean, yeah.
The way he stood there in the line when the quarterbacks were throwing, oh my God, that's I said, that's a future Hall of Famer right there. But I mean,
size and,
yeah, we just don't know. We don't know. And if it's, I don't know. I don't know whether it's in this draft. Maybe you draft somebody in the second or third round or something. I don't know. Malik Willis. I don't know. I think that the perfect or one good scenario is you do bring Aaron Rodgers back. And I don't think this will ever happen. You bring Aaron Rodgers back and you say, okay, your job isn't to be the man. Your job is to be the man right now. And you help along Will Howard or whoever the next guy is, and we have a smooth transition from Aaron Rodgers to the next guy. I don't think he would agree to that for 1 second. How could he doesn't seem to be the person that would say, "Oh yeah, I'll be a backup." Yeah, I don't think so.
No. Sorry,
No,
not at all. And so that's the thing, because the Steelers have a very interesting predicament at quarterback. And if Aaron Rodgers does come back, he's definitely not going to be a backup. And, it's just really going to be some kind of nail-biting scenarios over these next couple of weeks as to what they're going to do. Because I think, Joe, with Aaron Rodgers in particular, they're going to want to know what they're doing with him before the draft gets there. They're going to want to, and they need to.
Even before the draft.
Yeah.
Before free agency, because if he can't string them along until May or June. We can't do that anymore. Like, we need to know by like March, bro, because we need to know, do we need to go after Malik Willis, or are we going to draft someone, or what? We need to know, man. So I'm, for that reason, I mean, if that's the case, unless Aaron Rodgers or the news is like, oh hell yeah, I want to be with Mike McCarthy. It's like, we need to know quickly, man. You cannot string us along like you did last year.
Yeah, right. We can't be waiting for Easter or Memorial Day weekend. We need to know. And I think that was part of that discussion too, Joe, that you were talking about behind closed doors, was, hey, we have an issue quarterback, and we need to get this wrapped up before the draft gets here. Are you going to be able to get Aaron to either commit or say, I'm done, or, whatever it is, before that time frame? Because, we need to know. We really do. And that sets up everything else. Do we need to go shopping for another guy? Or is that going to be our target in the draft? What's it going to be? Because that's going to set up a lot of that. That's part of this whole, what I'm saying, Joe, next 10 years, what is the Steelers team going to look like? And that's part of it, a big part.
This offseason is critical. We say this almost every offseason, but this offseason is this one and next one, whatever they decide at quarterback, because it looks like they said 2026 was the year for quarterbacks, and that fizzled out. Now they say 2027 is the year for quarterbacks. We'll see. So whatever happens with their quarterback, but they gotta get it right So it's going to be fascinating. Now, one thing that I'm really wondering about is this is from someone called Jim Aiello. I think he works for The Athletic. And he said, I'm not the biggest McCarthy fan either, but I don't quite get why one hire was universally praised and the other so far panned. I realize the Steelers and Giants are in different places, but you can't tell me that people would have loved them hiring McCarthy. So he compares Mike McCarthy to John Harbaugh, and they are almost exactly the same in everything. Same age, same number of seasons, almost the same wins, almost the same playoff record, almost the same number of Super Bowls. But when John Harbaugh was the biggest, the hottest coaching candidate that everybody wanted, and Mike McCarthy was trash. Why is that? Why? And when Peyton Peyton was actually traded to Denver, he was considered like a genius still, but Mike McCarthy is considered trash. Like,
yeah,
they're the same thing basically.
Yeah, they are. They're mirror images of one another, and it's, I don't know. I mean, but there is. I still say there was something to go for when the Ravens lost. Both the Ravens and Steelers were in a scenario where it's time for a change, and I guess that we still all fall back on when you say it's time for a change, probably somebody younger. But I think he'll do well in New York. That's the deal with New York media. That's just a little bit different. But then you have, and lately it's just been kind of crazy about even what's going on in Buffalo right now. I mean, my God. Now, it seemed like Phillip Rivers turned that down today. They were looking at Phillip Rivers. But, the Bills are having a problem finding a head coach right now. And I guess that's one of the things that maybe Rooney said, hey, we're not going to have a problem. We're going to get our guy now. So we get Mike McCarthy. And kind of like you're saying, a good comparison between him and Harbaugh. But, I don't know if Baltimore's all that attractive. It's somewhat attractive, right? Lamar Jackson there. But the rest of that defense is not what it used to be. That defense needs rebuilt. They're in a rebuilding state. Their offense is not bad. But look how heavy, I'm assuming the Giants are going to go wide receiver because, Harbaugh put a lot of emphasis on drafting receivers over the last couple of years. And he likes to play the tight end. So, we'll have to see what the Giants become. But I'm just kind of curious what the Steelers are going to become out of this. And I think, that's kind of the worry and waiting is, are they going to go old? Or are they going to go new?
Yeah. I wonder if part of this, because people are saying, well, why did you get McCarthy now? Why didn't you wait to bring the Rams guys in? The Rams guys are available now. Why didn't you wait then? How many teams lost changed coaches this year? 10? And we still don't have all the things. You gotta, if you want to get your staff, you gotta okay, we got our coach. Cool. We need to fill out the rest of the staff. What if you waited a week or two and a lot of the people that you wanted to hire will be gone or something like that as coordinators? So you know what? Okay, fine. Go, it's like, when they say when you fall in love, he's like, how do you know you fall in love with the person? It's like, well, when you know. Maybe they fell in love with Mike McCarthy and said, okay, this is our guy. It's love at first sight. Let's go from here. So
maybe they did. And like I said, I think there had to have been a lot of serious questions they had to have going in that interview. He must have hit them right. Maybe Shula didn't hit the questions right. I don't know. But, I think the Steelers, I hope, let me take that back. I hope the Steelers are looking just the way that you and I are, and I think obviously several thousand fans, is that we're in mission critical right now. Like what we do this week and the coming weeks and before the draft and this offseason are going to severely impact the future of this team. And that's where it's at. And so hopefully Rooney felt the same way, and he felt that Mike McCarthy's the guy to get us there or guide us there or whatever you want to say. But, you also wonder, is Omar Khan on a short leash? Because what was it last year when he said, we're not used to being this way. We're going to take a serious approach. Omar, you better get it right. So I wonder about this is kind of a do or die year for Omar Khan, Joe. If he flops this and they don't do well and bringing some people in and stuff, I think Omar Khan's gone next year.
When it was Tomlin, the question was, okay, who's actually in charge? Who's actually making the decisions on, free agents, draft, things like that? And the guess was one or the other. It was either Tomlin was 50-50 or he had more sway than Omar Khan. Now there's no worry about that. Now it's all Omar Khan. I don't know how much say McCarthy is going to have in personnel decisions, but I would imagine it's not as much as Tomlin had. So yeah, okay, Omar Khan, this is your baby now. Can't blame anybody else. It's all on you, buddy. So good luck. I can't hear you. And, what do you say about the past couple years of Omar Khan? Okay. The drafts have been okay. The free agents have been hit or miss, but a lot more misses. So,
well, it's like that video I told you about that I didn't think it got enough airtime or time on Twitter. And after our show last week, I went back desperately trying to find it because I can't remember which Steelers site put it out there. But Tomlin is specifically talking about the draft and how heavily he was involved in that draft and how a lot of players may not have the talent here or the mind here. And he felt that was his ability to go coach that talent or coach that performance out of them or get more out of them and stuff like that. So everything you're saying is spot on because now Omar Khan is going to be, I think more is going to fall on his shoulders. I think Mike McCarthy's definitely going to have a say, but not as much as Mike Tomlin had to say. And it's going to be interesting how that goes because if you watch anything that happened in Buffalo, that was as weird as anything I've ever seen.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it was almost like watching, I hate to say it, but like senile or like an older person with dementia. And, Terry Pagula's done a lot for a lot of things. He's done great stuff for the Buffalo
For Penn State, definitely. For Penn State hockey. My God, he created Penn State hockey, basically.
He basically did. And, I mean, he starts throwing players under the bus. I mean,
that are on the team.
They're on the team. And, I mean, like, I think that GM just sitting there like, oh, my God, what is he doing?
Right.
And,
that was such an embarrassment. And, it is clear what happened. It was a power play. It was between Bean and McDermott, and they said, "Okay, one of us has to go. You pick. One of us has to go." And Bean got in Pagula's ear, and Pagula chose Bean, and blamed everything on McDermott. Okay, fine. Hey, yeah. It happens. They strongly deny that happened, but it was very obvious that's what happened. Okay, fine. And you know what? I'm not real happy with Art Rooney II now, but at least he doesn't pull embarrassing crap like that. That was Jerry Jones level. Not even Jerry. No, actually, Jerry Jones would do stuff like that, but that was Jerry Jones level of embarrassment from an owner, and I hope Pagula. He probably doesn't, but I hope Pagula gets some feedback. Like, hey, that was really not cool.
Well, and that's where I think it's very different. I think that's the kind of stuff like you talked about. Being in the locker room and looking around and seeing the attitude of the players and the dejection and stuff with Josh Allen. And I think Dan Rooney probably did something similar. He just didn't talk about it to everybody.
Right.
That's what Dan knew to make moves or, what to do here or what to do there. And I just, that whole thing, I was glued to TV and I'm like, this is just bizarre. So, hopefully that's the other thing you gotta wish for coming out of this is, okay, we got McCarthy, we got Khan, we got Rooney. Let's hope these three can get it together better because I think that they let Tomlin lead the way too much the last couple of years. And I think that was another reason it's time for Tomlin to go. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes and, what these people are going to do and what staff McCarthy's going to bring in to help him do this. Because I think the Steelers lost another guy. I think it's a draft guy. I forget what the term is, but to the Falcons or something like that.
Well, Andy Weidel interviewed for
Yeah.
the Falcons GM job, but I hope he doesn't get it because I think that would be a huge loss.
It would be. It would be. You need to keep guys like that here. So that's the thing now. Now we're waiting, and you got to figure out what they're going to do and figure out what, and I wonder what McCarthy said to Rudy. It's like, hey, look, we can do this for a mix of veterans and youth, or we're going to go all youth. I don't know, and I think that's what all of us are waiting for to see what happens. And it starts with the quarterback. What are we doing with quarterback? That's got to be the first thing addressed. Got it.
Well, one thing that Rooney did say in that interview was, or in that press conference, is I don't want to rebuild. To them, that's the R word. You do not say rebuild, but they're going to have to. They have an older roster, and you have 12 draft picks, so you're going to have a turnover. You're going to have a turnover. But he said, I don't want to have, this. I want to be competitive every year. Well, that's the case. They're not going to have that much turnover. They're going to, you're going to bring in young people, but you're going to also want to win now. So that's the whole thing. You're trying to have it both ways. We want to win, but we want to be good in long term. So it's like, okay, which is it? Sometimes you can do both, but it's very hard to do. It's kind of like what the Penguins try to do. So you know what? Could work, it could not, but this off season is critical, and it is nothing like we will ever have experienced because we're just so used to Tomlin, and we kind of knew what we were getting with Tomlin, and now we don't know what's going to happen, and that, to me, that's exciting.
Yeah,
and let's see what happens, and I'm really excited to see who he gets as the coordinators, because I just saw something today. There was one metric. It's like on third and mid-range, the Steelers were absolutely the worst in the league by far, and that indicates that you had a really lousy scheme, and that's fully on Tomlin and Terrell Austin. So, and it just seemed like Tomlin had too much power. If Tomlin was just a coach that motivated people, I think he would be awesome. But it's all the other crap that you have to do. The lack of coordinators, the crappy scheme, the talent evaluation that he just insisted on doing and he wasn't good at. So, okay, there's only one way to go. You can only get, I don't care who they hire. They can hire you and me as coordinators. It'll be better than what they had before.
Yeah, because the one thing, and I talked about this last week and gave you some stats, is how they were putting Jonnu Smith in over Freiermuth. And the one thing was, if you go back against that Bengals game, I know there's the Freiermuth Bengals, philosophy, but Smith got hurt in that game, and they started running Muth down the middle and on crossing patterns, and holy crap, it actually worked. And he had a hell of a game, and he had almost 3 touchdowns in that game. And I don't know why that went away, because we went with Arthur Smith saying, we're going to go back to Jonnu Smith, who's a terrible run blocker, who, just did not do well in the passing game at all. And he's going to be gone, hopefully. And you go back to Muth. And that just killed me, that the stats, that how bad Jonnu Smith was and why in earth they kept on going to him over Muth. I don't know if there was an Aaron Rodgers Muth thing. I don't know. But at least that is behind us, and hopefully you might see Muthi have a huge rebound year this year. At least I hope he has.
It was just inexcusable. It was absolutely inexcusable to what they did to Freiermuth. And I don't know if it was an Aaron Rodgers thing or an Arthur Smith thing or what, but Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth still has a contract through 2028. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Jonnu Smith is his last year is 2026, and please get rid of him. And like we said, McCarthy likes to use multiple wide receivers, not this multiple tight end stuff. So what do you do? I mean, that means it's either going to be Freiermuth or Mount Washington.
Yeah.
And
Which he's going to be great having him back. I think McCarthy's going to look at him and go, "Holy crap, that's a lot."
yeah,
You're right. We're throwing 3 or 4 tight ends out there, and then we're still throwing a game winner. And that makes it different. Not that I want to get off on a tangent about this, but if you're an Ohio State fan, there's no question that they are a wide receiver factor. I mean, there could be 2 Ohio State wide receivers going top 10 in the draft this year. And you're going to send Arthur Smith there? I mean, I guess, you could argue Penn State and USC. They're probably the tight end, gurus of college football. That's where maybe Arthur Smith should have went. But Ohio State, I don't know how that's going to go over because, again, if you're a wide receiver and you're a good one out of high school, that's where I'm going.
the running joke is that Jonnu Smith and Cordarrelle Patterson are going to re-enroll at Ohio State or something like that. Yeah, that's a real questionable move. Like you said, Ohio State is a wide receiver factory. Almost all the elite wide receivers have come. Didn't Jackson Smith and Jigwa come from there? I believe he did. They're all just like every good one, and they just keep pumping them out. And then you put Arthur Smith in there. I mean, that's very.
I'm glad he's their problem and not ours.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely glad about that. But so, I think that's the thing we want to see, because not to keep bringing this back up, but as Steeler fans, we've gone through some horrible offenses the last couple of years, starting back with Matt Canada and all the way through. I wasn't really impressed this year much better with Arthur Smith. So we're ready for that too.
And that's what McCarthy is known for. So my only question about if that's what they wanted to do, if that's what they wanted to go as the offensive route, okay, so be it. But then why didn't you interview more offensive people? Why was it like Mike McCarthy, Shellhouse? I think that was it as far as the offensive people. I think the rest were defensive people. If you were so enamored with we need to fix the offense, then why didn't you? Or are there just not more offensive people out there? I mean, they look at Mike McDaniel. It's like, no thanks. Could you imagine Mike McDaniel in Pittsburgh?
Right. No, that would not go over well. Because he'd come out in like a leisure suit and Now he did sign with the Chargers today, but I think he got his hand slapped a little bit because he interviewed for another head coaching job or something. Which after he accepted the OC job in LA Chargers, so he's one odd duck. So you can have that guy, but I don't know. It's funny we talk about that and. We talk about finishing with a losing record. Well, it's kind of damn hard right now in the division we play in because the Bengals and the Browns stink, and the Ravens aren't much better. How we swept the Ravens this year, So there's an automatic, it's almost an automatic 6 wins. We can't lose if we wanted to, So and all those teams that we're talking about there, they have a lot of issues too. The Bengals and the Browns, and you took a quick look at the schedule that came out this year, came out last week as to where we're going to be, who we're playing, and stuff like that. It seems like I feel like we have a favorable schedule. We'll see what Thursday night and Monday night games we get, and if we get any holiday games, because I think we got the Cowboys, so there's a chance we could be playing Thanksgiving Day. So I don't know, but schedule looked pretty favorable.
We'll see, because
we got the AFC South.
Yeah, and I think the NFC South too, or something like that. So
we're at
that'll be very interesting. And we think this is going to be. We're always just Steelers focused, but this is going to be a crazy off season all over the place. like you said, the Browns don't even have the Browns and the Ravens don't even have a coach. Oh no, actually the Ravens do have a coach. They got the that Minter guy, but the
Right.
Browns don't even have a coach yet. We don't know where all these coordinators are going to go. And then when it's time for free agents and releasing people, you basically have 1/3 of the league that just completely changed their coaching staffs. So new coaches, new evaluations of people. There's going to be a lot of people available that we didn't think are going to be available. The free agency is going to be crazy. The draft is going to be crazy. It is going to be an insane offseason. And I think there's going to be a lot of just turmoil. And I think it's just going to be crazy. And I think I think we have no idea how crazy it's going to be. I think there's going to be things that are just going to be that are going to absolutely shock us. Like, I don't know. I could see Lamar Jackson actually ended up on another team.
That'd be hilarious if he did.
Yeah.
There's a guy that might need a fresh start somewhere too.
Yeah.
Well, the Browns do have a Pro Bowl quarterback. That happened. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions.
He has 4 interceptions and touchdowns.
And he's going to the Pro Bowl, which is just the Pro Bowl is not like when you and I were kids. I put a post up about that, and some guy said, "Oh, the Pro Bowl's always sucked." I'm like, no, it hasn't. It used to be a lot of fun. They'd hit each other. They'd get pissed at each other. Some of those teams had, some grudges to handle out there. It was always a lot of fun, and now it's a waste.
It was a point of pride. It was like our conference wants to win or something.
Yeah.
I know when I played video games of football or whatever, like the Pro Bowl was like the best thing because it's like, all the best players playing against each other.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
the Pro Bowl used to be something, and now if you have Shadur Sanders as in the Pro Bowl, just end the thing. That should be the final nail in the coffin. It's like just stop it.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
It's dead. Yeah, shoot it. It's dead. But yeah, so it's like there's a lot of pressure on McCarthy. So you brought him in. He was the guy you wanted. I sure as hell hope you think he's ready for this because there is a lot that needs to go on between now and the next 90 days before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot that needs to go on. And that's why, again, I look forward to this every week, and I'm just very thankful that I'm healthy enough to be able to do this with you and everything. But it seems like every Monday, there's like something new to talk to Joe about. Like, oh man, Joe and I, this is going to be a lot of fun because this happened, and I don't think we're going to be lacking in that department at all between now and April.
And it used to be this way. It didn't used to be this way. It's like when the season was done, it's like, okay, I'll see you for the draft or something. It's like nothing happened. And now every week, maybe in June it might slow down or something. I don't even know. But it's like every week. It's just for the past few years, it's been just full of news. And then now this off season is going to be crazy. And yeah, it's going to be exciting because it's like, wow, what is going to happen? What's this guy going to do? Who's he going to get? Who is going to be his coaches? What are they going to do about it? It's almost like, yeah, it would have been nice to have some hot new coordinator or whatever. I saw something about since 2022, there have been 19 first-time coordinators or first-time coaches, and 10 of them have been fired within a year.
Yeah.
So you have almost a 50% rate of them just crashing out. Now, obviously, the Steelers are probably given more, a little bit more leeway, but still, that's the thing, though. Whoever it was between Shula or Shiehouse or who was out there, they weren't Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was a home run hire.
Right.
There was no slam dunk candidate out there. So who knows how long McCarthy's going to last? He got a 5-year contract. He's 62. He's not going to be here till 82. So don't worry about him being here for 15 years. But it's an extremely important job and it's an extremely important time with the Steelers.
And I think that that could be one thing that Rooney was sort of thinking about, or Omar was like, hey, look, Mike McCarthy is the safer play, right? Not be new, fangled, or whatever, but we bring him in, we bring some guys along. He's definitely got a coaching tree behind him or with him. he might be able to help us to bring in the next new guy, because right now we didn't like any of the new guys, and that's something that scares the hell out of both you and me and the rest of the Steelers fans. Is we are spoiled with great to decent coaching over the last couple of years. With the exception, again, I think Tomlin gets a little more credit than he should. But, we don't want to be one of those guys that's looking for our 8th head coach
Right.
In 4 years from now, or whatever the math may be. 4 head coaches in 4 years or something like that. Look at the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are just
What a joke.
what a joke of an organization. You just don't
Yeah.
want to end up being the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders, and you don't want to end up being the Arizona Cardinals or anybody like that. You want to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right. Right. The thought just occurred to me that just scares me. What if McCarthy chokes on something? Have you ever seen the Reuben at Big Jim's? It's like a giant sandwich. What if he chokes on it or something?
We could split that Reuben.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, we could split it 5 ways or something. It's just gigantic. Yeah, if you're ever in Pittsburgh, go to Big Jim's in the Run. It's so authentically Pittsburgh, and it's just such a wonderful place. And I don't even know who Big Jim is. I don't ask anybody's name. I just say hi to everybody there.
And you can go in there and you can run into the mayor. You could run into. I went to lunch there a couple times with work with the lady, city manager, for recreation parks and management in the city, and she was always killed me because she very nice lady, dressed in nines, carries a handbag, drives a nice car, and we're going to where do you want to go? Big Jim's. All right, we're gonna go to Big Jim's, and you run into Big Jim's, and you might run into the city and streets manager, and
Yeah.
I know I didn't do it, but a friend of mine, she ran in there, and oh my gosh, Charlie Batch was in there. So
No way.
you never know who's going to be at Big Jim's.
Yeah, and that's you don't even think twice about it. It's not like people are surrounding Charlie Batch or something like that. It's you just let him go.
Yeah, you're not going to get a chilled salad fork at Big Jim. So let me tell you that right
Yeah.
now. You're not get a chilled salad fork. But God, I'd love to either do a show or something from there one day, or have lunch with you there. But hey, things are still going okay for me. Just got to keep on getting better, and we'll have to do that someday.
Knock on wood. All right. So glad that you're doing well. So glad that you're back here. So
Me too.
all right. Well, that'll do it. Stay tuned. We've only just begun. We got our coach. Now we'll see what happens.
Yep. Sounds good, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Mhm.